Hey, as I'm like kind of stuck in bed and holding this up and it's a pain in the ass, I'm just gonna point it up, put it on my chest, and talk. Because there's just something I wanted to say about all this stuff, and I can't hold the camera up because my neck's bothering me. So put this here. I've been wanting to talk about like every day we hear about these mass shootings, and I hear about all this stuff. And this has to do with me having chronic illness too as a man, which also is horrible for women. Don't get me wrong. I know a lot of women that are disenfranchised, abandoned by their families, gaslighted by their doctors. That happens. But so I see all these things about guys shooting people up, and the root cause, people are like, it's guns. Yeah, obviously guns are a problem. I think guns are kind of silly in that like I love guns, don't get me wrong. I would love a WA-2000 rifle. Like, are you kidding me? It's like, what's that? I don't know. It's like a flying automobile. Like, it's just amazing how the form and the function of that weapon. And I cannot imagine, maybe in combat situations in the field, it's just not as easy to repair or not as reliable. I don't know, but I love that rifle. And it's interesting. I love Tech 9s because they're hilarious. I love shotguns. I love revolvers are my favorite. Pistol. I used to carry one for my job in security. And I love revolvers. Just something about the mechanical way it functions versus just like having the bullets in a magazine go up. It just seems kind of lame. So if there was a revolver that carried that had 20 bullets in it, I'd rather use that in a combat situation, but obviously they don't have those. So anyway, I appreciate guns and I appreciate how beautiful they are, and I understand, but of course that they are. I think the whole discussion about guns is kind of silly because like people don't actually think about it. Like when people talk about guns, it's not their own thoughts. Like 95% of the time, I don't know, very high percentage of the time they're talking. It's not their own thoughts. It's just, what did I hear on NPR, or what did I hear on Fox News, or what did I hear on Reddit, or what did I hear on Facebook, and I'm just going to say those points to people instead of thinking about it. Like if I was to give you a problem, like how do you fix the engine that's knocking in a 1969 Dodge Charger? If I asked you that, whoever's listening, you would say, you probably would say, I don't know. Even if you're a mechanic, I don't exactly know how to approach that problem. So what you would do is you would go look that up. How do you fix that problem? And then you would say, okay, so the sound's coming from here. So if it's coming from that side of the engine, when you are doing whatever with the gas, then it's likely to be this kind of an issue, and this is what's wrong with the engine. And then you would go through the steps to fix that. And that's the troubleshooting process that you should use to fix literally every problem. And we're not doing that with guns. We're looking at guns and saying, what is some talking point say? It doesn't matter what someone else's opinion is online. All that matters is that process, saying, here is a problem. How do you fix it? So you can look it up. And you can think for yourself, how would I, if I was in charge of fixing this problem, what would I do? Not what would I say from talking points online, but what would I actually do to fix the problem? And so what I would do is I'd say, well, I don't know. How does gun control work now? How did gun control work in the past? There's obviously differences now in our guns now between guns in this 1800s, right? So you probably would want different gun restrictions because of the differences in power and accuracy, and availability and stuff like that. And guns are way cooler now too. I would much rather own a gun now than back in the day. I would have been like, gun? Well, I don't give a shit. I use it for hunting, I guess. But you wouldn't go out and have target practice with your the one where you have to put the thing down the barrel of the gun and load it like a cannon. That would suck. But so I would look at that. I'd look at what have other countries done. Like obviously they have different cultures, but still relevant. What would I do in this country with gun? Like have we enacted gun control in this country, and has it worked? And if so, great. If not, then well, maybe we don't need it. And we're just not. I don't think anyone's actually thinking and saying like how would I actually saw. Like imagine there were you couldn't talk to anyone. You were just responsible for legislating the gun control, and it had to work. Lives depended on it. You had to get it right. So you had to follow the scientific method and get it right. So you're like, I need to actually know about all this. I need to know like how much does mental health affect gun violence? Like, does it actually? Does it like? I mean, it does, but like how much? How much would addressing mental health fix the gun problem? All this stuff, and I think almost everyone who talks about gun control has no clue about this stuff. They just want to say Second Amendment or ban them all or, or let's have realistic regulation like we do like with cars or something. And like they shouldn't be so easy to obtain. And that's about all you get. And the thing is, there have been books written on it since like the 70s. This is how you would actually deal with gun control. And it's like, why is no one reading those books? Like, we've had the answers to these problems. And I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying, like, we should ban them or we shouldn't ban them or we should restrict them or we shouldn't. But it's just like, I think nobody is actually looking at the science behind it like you would with a 1969 Dodge Charger. Like, we have a knock in our engine and we're not looking at the manual and we're not looking at what other people have done to fix the problem. And we're just not addressing it because we're saying it's inconvenient for me to either address the problem, we're just not going to address it, or we're going to get rid of the engine entirely. And it's like both of these options aren't feasible. They're not good. So it's like nobody's addressing the problem. For this is strictly speaking for the, although I did mention mental health, obviously, but I'm saying the scientific method should be applied to guns and then to mental health. But given that people are saying, oh, no, it's a mental health issue, I want to talk about that because I've got literally nothing else to fucking do all day because I have chronic health problems and I just lay in bed. But also because people are talking about this is a mental health problem and you need to address mental health. And we're like, cool, give us money to do that. And they're like, fuck you. No, but really, like, mental health, yes. All of the people who are committing these shootings, right? They're not mentally right in the head. You have to be fucked in the head to do this. But people are just saying we need to fix mental health in the country. But what I never see anybody talking about is what is causing these mental health problems. And I'm sure some people do talk about it. It's less frequent enough so I don't hear it is what my point is. And then more importantly, I think the one thing that I'm sure nobody's saying at all is that when you have an opportunity for a wonderful, good life, like look at the gangs in Philadelphia or the gangs in Columbus, Ohio. Why are young men joining gangs and killing people? Straight up getting a gun, walking over to another person who's 18 years old, 17 years old, putting the gun to their head, pulling the trigger. This happened right down the street from me. And just killed right out in the street, right down the road from my house. Another guy was shot right out in front of my apartment, just died in his car. Like, these young men are killing each other. And why are they doing this? Because, like, don't they know that, like, you can grow up and be a lawyer, or you have, like, the opportunity to be a doctor, or all this shit, right? And even if you were like, I don't want to go to school all that long, I'm not that intelligent. Because there's a self-esteem issue. I think a lot of people in inner cities and in poverty-stricken areas, disenfranchised areas of the country have, where the people living there, the kids living there, they don't have self-esteem. Whereas if that same kid was born into a rich family, he would believe, even if he was a moron, he would believe, I am worthy of Harvard. I am worthy of being a doctor. I can be a lawyer. And maybe I won't be the best one, but I can do it. I have this opportunity. And guess what happens? these rich people, or not necessarily rich, but like wealthy enough so you feel like I have access to the world, they don't join the gangs, right? They don't commit the murders. They don't commit the mass shootings, right? So you have these young men who are like thinking, the ones who are thinking, I have opportunity, they're not the ones joining the gangs. And also they're not the ones committing the mass shootings. I'm not saying a rich person can never go murder some people. That's happened before. I'm just saying odds are that's not going to happen. Very low instances. So you have a bunch of people like, so I was saying about the gangs, like you go talk to these kids and they're like, why are you doing this? They're like, well, this is an opportunity I have. They don't believe, whether or not it's true, they don't believe they have the opportunity. They don't believe they have the skill. They don't have the mindset where I have, like, I can go do anything. I can be anything. I can start a business. I can do all this. And they think that that's their recourse. Like, they're not complete idiots. Like, they know that being in a gang is dangerous and stupid and not all that great. But they feel disenfranchised, like nobody cares about them. And a gang gives them like sort of a family. And they feel like they have opportunity there. And that's what they want. They want family and opportunity. Because I know when you're in a group of people that's like, I got your back no matter what, that feels so, so good. Especially as a young man, like 14 to 18, that feels amazing. That is everything. That is so, so much for us. I don't know how it is for women. I know women is very important for too, but for men it's very important. And they don't get that from other places so much, in places like in the gang violent areas, like in the places in Columbus where there's been heavy gang violence for the last 70 years and it hasn't changed. It's because it's just been going on and on and on, the same thing over and over and over again. Because these people still have the same mindset, they still are part of the same culture. And I think the same thing is happening with mass shooters. And you have these mass shooters, and they're all disenfranchised men who do not have a family, and they don't have opportunity. And we're saying we have a gun problem and we have a mental health problem. But the root cause is these young men do not have opportunity and they don't have family. They're not connected, especially nowadays. Young men are the least connected they've ever been in the history of the world. Like the entire history of human civilization, young men are the most disenfranchised and the least socially connected. And this applies to all of us. Like we all suffer from less social connection than we would otherwise have, like because of TV and the internet and computers, like and social media. Like we all are suffering from this. But when you're young and you're male, you're more vulnerable. Obviously, there are women who are suicidally depressed because of this too. No disrespect to them. But this is just talking about the related to mass shootings. So men are going through this, like they're disenfranchised. They don't feel like they're a part of any kind of family. They're not connected. And they don't feel like they have opportunity. Like if you're depressed and nobody likes you and you're a loser and whatever, but hey, you know what? I'm 18, I'm out of high school, and I can just go get this internship at this job and train up and work here and go make great money and have a wonderful wife and a home and some dogs and some kids, and I'm just going to go have a wonderful life. Screw everyone else. Who cares? Right? Well, there's someone that's not going to be a mass shooter. Well, that's also an opportunity that does not exist in this country. And we have a lot of young men they get out of high school and they know, like, and even people that go to college, they know it's like they just don't have opportunity. Like we're having such a high amount of the money go to the owner of a company versus the employees. And as a man, like you do not matter. And this is where it comes back to chronic illness. Like you don't matter. Like if you can't make a living, like go fuck yourself. Like, it doesn't matter if you go die, who gives a shit? If a woman goes to work at a company and she should make $80,000, but she's making $40,000 because they're ripping off all the employees, it's the standards bullshit corporation in the United States. That because we don't have unions, right? Or we do, just not many. And so like you're getting screwed over, and you're a woman, you still have value. If you're an attractive young woman, oh, it doesn't matter. Like you can still date, you can still have friends, you can still go out, you can still. I mean, you might have to rent a room. That still sucks. You know, this is where women are suffering a lot too, because they would like a home, and you know, they would like to not have to work a full-time job while they're having kids and stuff like that. But aside from that, like women are doing fine emotionally. Like the women who aren't making a good living, everyone in the community looks at them, assuming they're slightly attractive. It's more of a problem if you're not as attractive, but still, if you're a young woman, even if you're not that attractive, you're valuable in the community and you matter. And you could lose your job and you're still valuable and you matter. And the resources you find in the community, it's easier to get sympathy. Like there'll be less people telling you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. There'll be more help. Women have it easier when they're homeless. And I am not saying that being a homeless woman is easy. I'm just saying, like, I've talked with women who are homeless and who were homeless in the past. And I've had issues with potentially being homeless and trying to find resources and get help. And I'm like, there's no room for me. And they're just like, yeah, I mean, the church will help me. This place will help me. I got this opportunity. I can get this help. So I'm not saying it's a piece of cake, but it's just easier. There's more community support and there's more value as a woman. And so women are like, okay, I'm cool. I'm not going to lose my fucking shit. There's also, I think, a thing with women where they're not committing mass shootings because they're women, and they're like, that's fucking crazy. I don't care how bad I feel. You know, they're more likely to commit suicide than do that. I mean, men are more likely to. But you get what I'm saying? Like, they don't have that aggressive tendency to lash out so much, but also they're not being stomped into the ground like men. Like I'm not exaggerating. Like we really don't fucking matter. Like nobody cares about us. If you can't make money as a man, you're a piece of shit. You don't matter. You're worthless. Your family does. You're lucky if your family cares. Your friends probably won't give a shit. And the community and the state and local government and the federal government absolutely do not give a shit about you. Might be some odd people out that will try and help you, but for the most part, as a man in our culture, you just don't fucking matter at all. Like if you're a man and you don't have money, like let's say, like if you're a woman and you lose your job, and this has been said by people before, like that man's not going to leave you. Like if you're a woman dating a man, and I don't know how it is for same-sex relationships, but for men and women, because I'm a man and I date women, so like and I've dealt with a lot of other people that experience the same thing. If you're a woman, you lose your job, it's probably not going to affect your relationship that poorly. As long as you make an honest effort, say, like, you know, I'm trying to pull my weight and trying to get another job. A man's not going to lose his shit because a woman's not making as much as him or something like that. But if a man loses his job, you're on a timer and the clock's ticking. And it doesn't matter if you're the love of her life and you mean everything to her and you're the father of her children. If you can't cut it, you're fucking out. You don't matter. You can go die. Who cares? You lost your job. And then of course, I'm painting everyone in broad strokes here, but like, I am aware there's exceptions, but generally as a man, that's what I've seen in my life. And that's what a lot of other men have told me. They feel like they don't matter. And this isn't a new idea. A lot of young men are saying they feel like they don't matter. And so I'm just reiterating, saying like, has to do with this gun violence because we are completely screwed by opportunities in the United States. We're told that you don't matter as a man unless you can make this money and have this career. And then we're getting screwed over at work. We're working our asses off and getting fucked over. And women don't want to date us. Women don't want to have families with us. We can't get a home. We can't, we're struggling in the areas that say like, they're the only areas where we matter. They're the only areas where anyone will give a shit about us. And we can't cut it. And it doesn't matter if we're smart. And it doesn't matter if we work hard. We're still getting fucked over. So most men, yes, still are not going to go on a mass shooting. But it pushes a lot of us to the edge. A lot of us are deeply struggling because of our financial opportunities in this country. And you take a guy who would be a mass shooter and he has that opportunity. He believes like, yeah, you know what? I can go out and I can go study as a plumber and make a good living and be an electrician and gain a good living, or be a firefighter or a police officer. But like, even firefighters and police officers make shit, and the job's really stressful. Like, it's so hard anywhere you go these days because we don't have unions. We don't have people. We're always like, the government needs to do this with minimum wage and the government needs to do that. And they are owned by the corporate. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican or pro-gun or anti-gun. The fact of the matter is that the corporations own our government enough to where we men, and women, I want this for women too, but like, men are not going to have financial opportunities for upward mobility. Like, I work harder than my dad did, for sure, and he made a lot more money than I did. It's not fair, right? That pisses me the fuck off. And then also, because I got chronic illness and I got injured and I put up a GoFundMe, nobody gives a fuck because I'm a man. I'm supposed to make that money. And that makes me livid. That makes me so fucking pissed. And I'm not saying there's no women out there that have trouble getting money for financial issue stuff. But like, if you're trying to get money for something, for like a major operation, maybe it's going to cost $20,000. If you're a woman and you still have double or triple the support as a man, that's still hard. But I consistently see online on GoFundMes, women getting traction on GoFundMes for health problems vastly faster. They get much more sympathy on social media. Like, I'll get 10 people saying, oh man, here, I'll help you out, or oh, I'm sorry. And then another woman will post the same post I do, and they'll get 10 times the amount of comforting comments and offers of help. And it's just like, if you're a man and you can't pull yourself up by your fucking bootstraps, fuck you. And that's why we're having these problems, is because we don't have these, nobody cares about us in our society. We don't have this family kind of, like, I know that, like, if I can't cut it, I'm fucked. Like, that's scary. I don't have like this community of people around me that's gonna like take care of me. Whereas a woman, you might feel that more. And again, more, I want women to be very well off. I want us all to have great opportunities. I want women to be, women deserve to be treated better too. We're all getting screwed by this financial thing. It's just culturally, we're deeply affected by this, you know, pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing. And also on top of that, like, you're worthless if you don't make the money. And then at the same time, we're getting kneecapped and we can't make this money. We, young adults, can't make it. It is so much harder as a young man to make it. You have to work so much harder than your parents did, and you're getting half the pay. And then women are like, we don't care about you. We're going to go find someone that isn't a loser. And then you got these guys who are like, the community doesn't care about them. Women don't. Every metric that a man is told since they're young that measures the value of you in society says you are useless and you are a failure and you're completely outside the system now. You're outside society. And now you're outside society and you have access to weapons and you're poor and you're fucking pissed off and your mental health's gone to shit and you're like, I'm going to do something about it. And so then you have these mass shootings. And this is something that nobody's talking about this. They're just saying like, oh, we just, you know, people are depressed because of random whatever, you know. And also the guns are the problem. It's like we have a socioeconomic problem. We have a cultural issue with men, like how we don't respect men in this country. And we like, if we kill it, like male parents have this problem all the time. Like if a man's with a kid, it's like, you know, like, wow, you're spending time with your kid. It's like, yeah, he's my kid. I'm supposed to, right? Like, it's just, you do the job as a parent, as a man, and people just, I don't know, there's no respect there. You're never thanked for it. It's just, and I still feel like people might think like I'm saying shit like women don't get any respect. Women do get shit on too, but again, this relates back to the mass shootings. So we have this cultural problem. We have the financial upward mobility issue, And I think the only way you can really solve that, because our government's kind of owned by corporations, is that we need to have unions. And I know unions aren't perfect, I know. But unions are the only thing that have given us improved ability for men and women too, for all of us to improve our working conditions. So the bad things that unions have done are vastly outweighed by the good things that they've done. Like, we have a 40-hour work week because of unions. We have child labor laws, I think. I don't know if directly because of unions, but people definitely protested on it. I'm not an expert on unions, but I know that I don't see any other way. I mean, I've studied history and I've studied unions in history. I'm just not like the world's premier expert on them. But it's the only way when we get together and say, like, hey, we know the company is making a shit ton of money. We know you don't need all that money, right? Like, if you gave some more of that to us, it wouldn't screw the company over, right? You would still get on. You'd still be wealthy. I'm not saying a CEO deserves shit pay. Like, if a CEO is working as hard as LeBron James is, yeah, maybe you should be making 10 times my salary, but not 1,000 times my salary. That's fucking ridiculous, right? Like, that's what we have CEOs making 1,000 times a person's salary, and it's like, our owners of the company make, and then we also prioritize shareholders. We prioritize whatever makes the stock go up, and corporations are built in such a way that whatever makes the stock go up, that's what we do. And if that means fucking over every employee we have, then we fuck over every employee we have. You do whatever it takes so you can increase the stock price. And you have to keep increasing it. You have to keep increasing and keep increasing. And CEOs can even be voted out by shareholders if they're not doing that. So, like, they'll lose their job if they don't fuck their employees over in the company. And that's the kind of thing where you need to say, okay, this system's screwed up. We need to have a union to say, we need to hire like, it's fine if you need to min-max the employee pay, employee work amount, get as much employees out of employees as you can, but we need a certain percentage of the profits, and we deserve, and you can pay it. We deserve it, and the company can afford it without going under. You can comfortably run the business, so you win, and we're happier, so we're better employees. So, like, the thing with the CEOs and the shareholders killing their own employees, like, figuratively speaking, it's not good for the company. If you're thinking, like, capitalism's great, we need to just like capital, that's not good for the company. It's good for the company to treat the employees better, but you have the system in place where you have the mechanism that says that they have to make the stock worth more and more and more consistently, and the only way to do that is to screw over the employees, and they have to do that. So it hurts the employees, and it hurts the company. And it hurts the industry. And it hurts the American people. So it's like nobody's winning here. It's not like, oh, but it's at least, it's capitalism and, the strongest win. It's like the strongest aren't winning, right? Like this, maybe they'll win for a little bit and the people at the top will get rich, but then in the long term, the company will suffer. Another company will come up with a way to get more out of their employees and treat their employees better and defeat that company and be in direct competition with them. This doesn't necessarily work in cases where you've got a monopoly. So there's that. But again, unions can fight against that. So I think unions are something we all need to think positively about and say, like, this can solve our problems, especially for men in this country, for upward mobility and comfort. Like, it shouldn't be this pipe dream for a young adult to buy a home. It should be like, of course I can do that. Of course I can have a home and have time to go to the gym and have time to spend with a girlfriend and raise a family and all that stuff. And then you don't have the mental health problems. So if we take care of the union, if we have more unionization in this country, we will have less mass shooters and less mental health problems for men, which is the issue here. Obviously, I want women to do well, but the issue here is that the men are committing most of the mass shootings. So, and I realize not all the mass shootings are solely motivated by this. Like, you could have someone that has like a religious thing, or is like, has actual brain damage, or went to war and came back and has severe emotional trauma, and is just screwed up in the head, and they go on, they just shoot up their whole military base and they kill everyone. It's not the only reason that people kill other people, right? There's a lot of different reasons for that, but a lot of one of the major reasons is that thing that, like, we're having disenfranchised men who are being shit on, and to the point where they're developing severe mental health problems, and they're lashing back at this community that supposedly cared about them, and now they're ostracized from. They're outside. They don't have access to live the American dream anymore, and they're fighting back. And not in a good way. I don't recommend people fight back that way, but I think unionization is one of the major ways that we increase a man's upward mobility and reduce gun crime in this country. And not just for mass shootings, but for gang violence as well. When you're like, I can go work at this straight out of high school at whatever job without an education and make decent money and get treated with respect and feel like the company I work with cares about me. They have to give me a minimum standard because that's the minimum standard that we agree is fair and just, and says that, like, I care about you as an employee, which a union can fight for. And young men deserve that. And that would reduce gang violence, and that would reduce general, robberies and crime, and that would reduce mass shootings due to mental health problems. And I never hear anyone talking about this. And it pisses me off because I'm a man who is dealing with this shit every day. And I know there's millions of other men out there who are getting shit on every day by the system, and women too, like, because of the corporate greed and the way the corporations are set up, like, to screw over the employees. And we all deserve better. And it needs to be talked about. So that's why I'm talking about this. So please, can we focus on the root cause of this problem and not just say, it's just the guns, or, we need to throw money at, like, giving people antidepressants. Like, these things are not going to solve the problem. They'll help. They will help. Like, obviously, better healthcare will help reduce gun crime. It will help reduce gang violence, or help reduce violence in general. And gun restriction may help. I don't know. I'm just saying, use a scientific method. Go look up. Like, did restricting guns ever reduce gun crime? Because if it did, then it will again. If it didn't, then it won't. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying, don't listen to Reddit. Don't listen to Facebook. Don't listen to Fox. Don't listen to NPR. Just look up what we've done in the past. We've had guns for a long time in this country. We know. The data's out there. You can figure it out for yourself. What things with guns will help, and what things with guns will not work. You don't need someone to tell you your opinion. All right. So that's what I've said.